There's a lot of influencers and really most of the fitness industry that has convinced people that in order to build muscle, you need all these different exercises for each muscle group and perfect angles and just an overly complicated routine. But after more than 10 years of working out, I've realized you don't need any of that, and it's so much simpler than they've led you to believe. Especially if you don't care about becoming a competitive bodybuilder, you might just want to look better with your shirt off and be stronger and healthier and more confident for everyday life. And if I had to start over today, I'd build my back with just two movements, and instead of making you wait until the end to tell you, these are what I choose: a vertical pull and a horizontal pull. That's literally it. Now, before you click off because it sounds too simple, understand that these are just tools. It's really about knowing how to perform them and why you're using them and how to progress them that actually matters. And that's what I'm going to cover in this video. I chose these two because they complement each other. A vertical pull does a great job training your lats to help build width, and then the horizontal pull is going to train the muscles throughout your mid and upper back to help build depth and thickness. And when you combine these, they cover the major movement patterns your back is designed to perform. And you might have noticed that I keep saying movements instead of exercises, and there's a good reason for that. Most videos and influencers in general just tell you exactly which exercises you have to do or you should do. And I know all you guys watching have probably seen those videos that are like, do these exercises to blow up your arms or blow up your back or build massive biceps. I don't agree with that at all, and that's where I'm different. Because your body doesn't know the name of the exercise you're doing, it only knows the movement pattern you're asking it to perform and the amount of tension you're placing on the muscle. That's why I think it's much more useful to think in terms of movement patterns instead of specific exercises. And I don't want to confuse you, like there are exercises that I prefer over others, but it's not mandatory, and I'm never going to tell you you have to copy what I do. Basically what I'm trying to say is once you understand the movement you're trying to train, you can almost always swap in several different exercises and get a very similar result. And for example, let's say someone tells you that wide grip pull-ups are the best back exercise ever and you can't skip them and you must do them. Maybe they are for them, but that doesn't mean they're automatically the best choice for you. The reality is there are multiple exercises that train the exact same movement pattern and can produce very similar results. So instead of the wide grip pull-up, you might prefer wide grip lat pull downs, or a neutral grip pull down, or an assisted pull-up with a band, or a single arm pull down. Those are all different exercises, but they are a very similar movement pattern. And this exact idea is going to apply to rows as well. So whether you do a chest supported T-bar row like me, or a cable row, or a machine row, or a barbell row, they're all different ways of training the same movement. So I know I've hammered this concept a lot already, but I don't want you leaving this video thinking you need my exact exercises. Just focus on understanding the movement patterns. Once you understand that, you're going to be able to build your back in almost any gym with almost any equipment. And whenever I'm choosing a specific exercise for a movement pattern, this is my thought process. The first thing is it has to feel good on my joints. So if an exercise constantly irritates my shoulders or elbows, eventually I'm going to stop doing it. And this kind of leads me into the second thing. I want to actually enjoy doing the exercise. We all have exercises that we know of, or maybe we've tried in the past that we absolutely dread, and if you dread them, you're never going to stick with them. So my pick for the vertical pull is going to be a wide grip lat pull down, and I truly believe it's the reason I built a wide back. I've used this movement probably 90% of the time over my 10 years of lifting, and I've pretty much always did a very wide grip. But once again, this is simply my preference. If you love pull-ups, then feel free to do wide grip pull-ups or chin-ups. Just find something that you enjoy. One of the biggest mistakes I see is people using so much momentum that their entire body ends up moving more than their lats, and that's mostly because people are ego lifting. So pick a weight that you can actually control and then let the weight stretch your lats at the top under control. Then think about driving your elbows down towards your sides instead of pulling with your hands and swinging. So control the weight all the way back up. I like to pause briefly to get a really deep stretch in the mind muscle connection. Then I just continue to repeat the exact same motion every rep and try to make all of my reps look as similar as possible. Now let's talk about the reps and progression. Personally, I like staying in the 6 to 10 rep range for most of my compound movements, and I only perform one working set. So let's say I get 7 reps today. Next week when I hit the same exact workout and the same exact exercise, my goal is just to hit 8. And then over the course of a few weeks or maybe a month, I'll reach 10 reps, but the form has to be solid across them all for me to increase. And what I'll do is I'll add a little weight and then work my way back up from 6 again. Then I just keep repeating that process over and over. And if you have any questions about that, or maybe I confuse you and you're just wondering how I structure my programs throughout the week, I break all this down step by step in my Average To Jack system, which I'll leave linked below in the comment section if you want to learn more. But now let's move on to the row or the horizontal movement pattern. Once again, I do the vertical and the horizontal together because they complement each other. And could you still build a decent back with just one or the other? Like let's say you got really strong at weighted pull-ups, you absolutely could still build a phenomenal back. But I don't really see a valid reason not to do both unless you're you're limited on equipment. But even at that point, if you're able to do pull-ups, then you might as well do some inverted rows. So we already talked about how the vertical pull is going to emphasize the lats, and the horizontal row is going to put more emphasis on the muscles throughout your mid and upper back, which is going to create the density and depth. And just like before, we're going to pick the variation that feels best for your body. So it could be a chest supported T-bar row, cable row, a machine row, a dumbbell row, or even a barbell row. And then I'll also mention inverted rows with body weight. So my number one pick for this movement is going to be the chest supported T-bar row. And that's because it gives me plenty of stability and it lets me push to failure without really worrying about my lower back or my legs becoming the limiting factor like they can with a barbell row or just a standard T-bar row. And just like on the lat pull down, I'm going to try my best to control every rep. And you're going to see right here that I'm reaching down into just a really full and exaggerated stretch. And then as far as progressively overloading or adding reps and weight, it's basically the same exact way. I'm going to stay in the 6 to 10 rep range and just follow the exact same progression model. Now, some of you might be thinking like it just seems obvious that these are the two movement patterns your back performs. But the point of this video is to show you that you don't need 5 different rows and 4 different pull downs to build an impressive back. And a question you might have is, do you have to stick with just 2 exercises or can you rotate them every few months? 100% absolutely you can rotate them. And I actually recommend it every few months to help avoid overuse injuries and just keeping your training fresh and not as stale and boring. Just don't fall into the trap of thinking that more exercises automatically mean more muscle. Your back is primarily responsible for vertical pulling and horizontal rowing. So if you're consistently training both movement patterns with 1 exercise for each and then enough effort and progressively overloading them over time, that's more than enough to build an impressive back. So I've now covered chest and I've also covered back. And if you'd like me to continue this series and break down the rest of the major muscle groups, just let me know down in the comments below, because I want to make sure that I'm making videos that you guys actually want to see. So if you do, just drop me a comment below. And if any of you guys are looking for a step-by-step workout program that's going to work regardless of your age, your starting point, so if you're overweight right now, or maybe you're extremely skinny, or even the equipment you have access to, I'm going to leave a link below to my Average To Jack program. I appreciate you guys watching. I'll talk to y'all in the next one.